that? Who is that?
Hey YouTube, thanks again for checking out the Film Geek. Today I'm talking about the 1992 occult slasher film, Candyman. Candyman was directed by Bernard Rose and is starring Tony Todd as Candyman. Candyman was a former slave who fell in love with the plantation owner's daughter. Then the plantation owner cut off his hand, replaced it with a hook, covered him in honey, and allowed bees to sting him to death. He might have a little animosity towards people. Fast forward some time, and Candyman has now become an urban legend. In Chicago's near North Side. Our story is about Helen, a grad student, played by Victoria Madsen. Helen is a grad student that wants to debunk the story of Candyman. Goes into Chicago's near North Side community and starts talking to a lot of the people that live there in the projects, one of which is Anne Marie. Now, she doesn't seem to really be frightened by Candyman, but she is very familiar with the story. This goes on to have her investigate a little bit more into this urban myth of Candyman in Chicago's slums. So what is this urban legend about Candyman? Well, come to find out, in one of these buildings in the project, a woman there looked into the mirror and said Candyman's name 5 times. Candyman then appeared behind her and slashed her throat. So the rules are very simple. If you don't say his name 5 times in a mirror, he doesn't show up. So guess what Helen does? Well, she says his name 5 times in a mirror, and he eventually shows up. What does he do? You think that he would kill Helen right off the bat. No, he actually torments her, actually frames her for all the murders that he commits. Things I like about this movie. Candyman is a very unique slasher film in the fact that it is just really a really well shot film. It's not as violent, as gory as you think it would be. I'm not saying that it doesn't have gore. It has great gore. It's just that this film, unlike a lot of slashers, it does not focus on the gore. It doesn't try to one-up itself with each one of the kills. Every kill in this movie is specifically for a reason, and in fact, Candyman, if I believe, only kills actually 2 people in this entire film, and one of which is off-screen. You actually only get to see Candyman kill somebody once. It's good. It's worth it. It's worth it. Candyman is a gem from the 90s. That I was in line opening night to see Candyman in 1992. This was one of the first movies I saw legitimately R-rated in theaters when I was 17. Really enjoy this movie. I think it's a lot of fun. It has a very gothic movie feeling to it, despite the fact that the entire movie is set in, the near North Side of Chicago. It's shot like this is Phantom of the Opera or Dracula or something, like a classic monster movie, and Helen is just drawn to Candyman as the story unfolds even further. Alright guys, this is a high recommendation, 1992's Candyman, directed by Bernard Rose and starring Tony Todd as the Candyman. Candyman is really one of the most frightening slasher films you will ever watch. It really sticks with you. As a friend of mine put it not too long ago, this is a movie you don't end on a good note. You do not feel good at the end of this movie. It has just an underlying sadness throughout the entire thing. Every character in this movie has some underlying sadness about their character. Even Candyman, the killer himself, has this sadness about him. The main character, Helen, literally gets thrown into this whole monster vision world only because she wants to tell a story. This brings us to the end to another Film Geek video. Thanks again for checking me out. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as I always say, keep watching movies, folks, because you know I'm gonna.